So, full disclosure, I was going to call this video How to Train Millionaires, but I thought that would be too clickbaity and not appropriate. So I went with something a little bit more reasonable and something more scalable, interdisciplinary. So 7 tips on how to train type A personalities. First, you may be wondering, well, who the hell are you? I'm Coach Kev Denim. People have been calling me Coach for a long time. So that's what I do. That's who I am. And I'm sticking with it. And I own 2 gyms in the city, one on the Upper East Side and one in Murray Hill. And started that in 2009 after working for a long time managing and training at a club called Equinox. You might have heard of it. And so why am I qualified to talk about managing type A personalities? Our Upper East Side location on 72nd and Lexington basically is in the heart of the Upper East Side. The average income is far above the average for the United States. I think it's like 5 or 6 times the average houses. Most of our clients have multiple houses, and I enjoy training them, and I've learned to train them better, not just from a technical standpoint, but how to manage them. And as a result, there's certainly not just a following for me up there, but the entrepreneur side of me tends to relate to them as an entrepreneur. Most of our guys are successful entrepreneurs, and thus that's part of the management there is relatability. Oops, I gave one away. But so that's what I want to dive into. That's who I am, and we're going to rock and roll from here. So, and part of this is, by the way, mistakes to avoid. I go back. There's a bunch of books behind me. Some of them you may recognize, and so a lot of these concepts that we're going to discuss are from basically lessons I've learned, both from like reading a book and being like, oh, that's what I shouldn't have said, or that's what I should have said. I really have to go back and forth sometimes, and this is why books are so helpful to me, because I learn about managing people in different situations, situational awareness. But anyways, let's go. We're going to talk about the 7 tips to managing type A personalities. So first things first, most type A personalities, they tend to want to do a lot. They want to handle a lot. So how do you handle that? Me, I'm not a great bowler, but if you put bumpers down, I'd probably be a good bowler, right? So I'd be able to keep it in my lane. So that's lesson number 1, is try to keep the client in their lane. Like, they're going to want to do everything. They're going to want to try everything, but try to keep the bumpers up so that they can stay focused and like have a better shot of hitting their target. Right. So that's lesson number 1. It's just try to really get them. And this isn't just from a training perspective, although trying to keep them from specializing in too many things too soon is a recipe for disaster. But in terms of getting them focused on what they want to pay you for, and then what you're going to help them with. So that's super important. The other thing the second thing is a lot of times they confuse the amount of money that they spend on something with the likelihood of success. While we know that not necessarily to be true, how do you convince somebody that the highest price of something, like for instance, there's a diet guru in New York who charges $10,000 for you and then promises that you'll lose 50 pounds, something like that. Like a lot of people, then that gets published in the New York Post. A lot of people will confuse either that concept of, it costs $10,000, it must work, with the actual effectiveness. So how do you convince your client that the highest price option isn't the answer? Pretty much you have to use your experience and anecdotal evidence and have other people tell the story for you. So this includes your marketing. This includes all of that stuff that you think about in terms of going through I was just doing a live stream. What's up?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I need to do my
Your in-body?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yay. Sorry to distract you.
No, you're okay. Sorry about that, guys. So this is the perk of managing personalities. But the concept here is simple. What happens for a lot of people is they tend to confuse the monetary investment with the monetary return. But the problem there again is that you're going to confuse playing the long versus the short, and playing that things that cost much, a lot more, may be worth more. So we know that not necessarily to be true. Okay, let's talk about number 3. Before people get into something, there's like prerequisites, right? So in our instance, it's a warm-up. Like giving somebody a warm-up prepares them and gets their body ready to produce better movement, right? Similarly, if you're a consulting client, it's probably going to behoove you to give your client almost a checklist. There's a great book called The Checklist Manifesto, but to give your client a checklist of things that they need to do in order to be successful in that lane. So if we go back to that bumper in that bowling alley, we want to keep and hold people accountable and get them to be successful while they're doing the work that you need them to do. So in our instance, that's the warm-up. In your instance, it might be a great checklist. So, all right, that's our third thing to do. Number 4, the basics from a training standpoint: squats, deadlifts, lunges, all that fun stuff. You can't avoid them. And so going back to keeping people in their lane, I think when you look at let's say go back to a business consultant, you can't avoid a profit and loss statement. You just can't. So you have to get back to the basics and remember, like, just keeping them in their lane. But you also, there's the independent variables of which you need to track. So anything from, in our instance, it's heart rate, even though it could lead to other things. In a business side, it could be another KPI or key performance indicator that you're looking to track. So in a go back to the fitness business, it could be memberships and total number of memberships, and then average price per client in the membership. That's how you're going to be able to calculate that value. So adjusting those key performance indicators is going to be pretty important, and making them specific without neglecting the main goal. I hope that makes sense. The other thing about managing type A personalities is that they do tend to overlook things. So you're going to have to basically be their protector. This is number 4, by the way. Sometimes I like to call it like being dad. Like, I have to make sure, like when you're watching a toddler and like, no, don't touch that. No, watch. Like, that's what you have to do. And sometimes you have to say, wait, hold on, let's try this. And I think the reason that's so important from a client and trainer perspective is the same reason it's so important for managing people, is you have to be able to get their trust in you. And so knowing that they always know that you have their best interest in mind is massively important. So that's why I say, always have their best interest in mind, and always kind of keep them safe. That's like one of our first rules from a training perspective, is that you're not going to get hurt. And certainly from managing your client, making sure that they're certainly not going to lose money, and you're going to show them examples. Oh, no, wait, let's not use that management technique. Let's try something else. And here's why. Which leads us to number 5. So number 5, a lot of these type A personalities like to know the why. These things, they really help me because I get to store stuff up here and say, this is what I just learned, and you're going to love this, and this reason, and for this reason, and you get to add so much value to your presentation as a client manager that you're going to see them respond better because you can give them the why, right? So you're going to give them the reason that, this management technique or this hiring technique or this thing is so important, and your source. It's almost like creating a presentation back in high school. You wanted to give good information to please the teacher, but you also wanted to prove that you had a source, and you're just not pulling it out of your butt. So that's number 5, is really just giving them the why, because they really they're learners. There's a saying, learners are earners. Number 6, that leads us to number 6. You must read. I know some people are like, well, no, I just got to execute. Things are changing. Things are changing so fast. So those learners or earners, those type A personalities, if you ever want to become one of those people who has multiple revenue streams, multiple income streams, invest in real estate, all of those things, invest in the stock market. If you want to become one of those people, you're going to have to be diverse in your knowledge. There's a book that just came out called Range, and it talks about how generalists in a society where we reward specialists or we highlight specialists. This book is all about how being a generalist, for the most part, helps you in your growth to get a wider base. I know Gary Vee used to call it width first and then depth. So in this instance, the more that you can read these puppies and then get a wide array of knowledge, and could be in things that you want to learn about and that are relative to your field, but you're really going to be relating to them. I've read multiple of these guys, and one of our clients was in it. Multiple of our clients have read these books. So now I have a great chance to prove that I am at their level. And in addition, my relatability is high, and that I speak their language, and that I'm able to navigate their brain, because we're talking about the same things. If you're dealing with a coach who, or a manager or somebody like that, who you're not on the same page with, and you're not speaking the same language, it's hard. You've seen that communication barrier before. So this allows you to get up to their level. Plus a lot of type A personalities, they have MBAs, they have multiple degrees. They may have multiple mentors who, like, their vocabulary is just asinine. I mean, they can just, they're like, what does that word mean? You're just blown away. So learners or earners in constantly learning is a super important lesson for me. I think I've read in the past 4 months 25 hours on Audible. So I listen to it. I do it while I'm walking, while I'm doing tasks, etc. Rowing, going to the subway back and forth between the gyms, walking to work, walking back from work, and eating, prepping food. And it just helps me to stay current too. A lot of these new books that come out are they're probably referencing some of these other books. So you kind of get to hear the same thing over and over again for some things. So that's also nice. The last thing, this is easy. You have to give more than you take. It sounds so weird. Like if you're dealing in a client this is lesson number 7. If you're dealing with a client in a trainer relationship, I've seen it so many times where the client is paying the trainer, and yet the client is consulting for the trainer. Like the trainer is talking to them about their weekend, about their housing situation, about all this stuff. That's not, you don't go to a doctor and then like pay them to help you, and then you're going to help them with their, spouse issues. That's A, not professional. And then B, it's not going to be a very productive relationship. So you must always give more than you take. For trainers, that's always just like, hey, we can talk about this later. Let's talk about this offline. We can keep it personal. If it's a topic for the whole room, fine. But for going back to the client relationship, dealing with type A personalities, if they can sense that you are trying to get something, the relationship is over. If they can tell that you want something from them, the relationship is over. That you have to give more, way more than you take. So I think that's a super important lesson that I've learned. I always look, I'm going to even call this and go this one step further. By giving more than you can take, you can see their blind spot. So going back to them protecting them, I read a lot of Navy SEAL like David Goggins and Jocko Willink stuff, and Stealing Fire and a couple of those other books. And they talk about how the reason there's the Navy SEALs are like so in tune with each other because they're always watching each other's six, right? They cover and move, cover and move, cover and move. And so as a client and trainer, I would always say the same thing. Like I'm always going to watch out. And because I'm always looking for more benefit that I can give them, that I'm always I always have the opportunity to continually give more than I could ever take. So could they help me on analyzing an opportunity? Sure. But not now, not in the throngs of a business relationship. And so that's all 7. I think to wrap up, these aren't written in stone. These aren't probably written in books. But these are just lessons that I've learned. And I think passing on managing type A personalities, the joke really is, I'll actually leave you with this. The joke I used to say, / still say, is that if I would have called our gym type A personal fitness, we probably have a line out the door, meaning that they always want to be the first. They always want to have the best. They always want to be doing something exclusive. They're early adopters. Like, those are type A personalities. And so knowing their personality type, that's your bonus. Knowing personality types and knowing what they want is super beneficial for your relationship with your client. Maybe they're not a type A, maybe they're somewhere in between. But if you get a hint that they are a type A personality, I think any one of these 7 can help you win that relationship with them. I'm going to tell you, it's benefited mine greatly. And yeah, I really hope that this helps. Any questions, just let me know. All right. Take care, guys.